people don't often understand how much they should be charging. I think as a profession, and I implore everyone, don't undercharge. It's not a criticism on them. You charge what's appropriate for 4 years of training. You paid for that. That was an investment, as well as your time and your energy, but also on top of it, your experience, whether you've been working for a year or 2 years or 20 years, it doesn't matter. When you sit with a client, you are probably 99% more likely to be more experienced than them and more qualified. So that needs to be reflected in how much we charge. Whether we prescribe on the spot or whether we spend 2 hours with our books, both are of equal value. It's how you practice yourself and also for the client getting better. They don't come in, it's not like an hourly rate. It's not like, I've got an hour, I've got 2 hours. That's not the value. The value's in the solution.
Today's guest is Kiran Grover, who has been practicing for 17 years and who is a third-generation homeopath. Kiran has a passion for helping homeopaths have successful practices, and you can learn more about her and also the free course which she offers and much more at healthyhomeopathy.co.uk. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the Homeopathy Hangout, where we discuss all things homeopathy from around the world. And now my mum and your host, Eugenie Kruger.
Hello, homies, and welcome back to the Homeopathy Hangout podcast, where today we get to hang out with Kiran Grover, all the way from the UK. Welcome to the show, Kiran.
Hi, Eugenie.
Cool. Well, we have a mutual friend in the lovely Marcus Fernandez, and he has been telling me about you, and he was like, you have to get Kiran on the show because she's great at helping homeopaths build their business. So before we get cracking in all of that, can you tell us a little bit about how you found homeopathy?
Gosh, I'm really lucky. I'm born in a homeopathic family. So that means my grandfather was a homeopath. He served in the Second World War. And after that, I think he wanted obviously a change of pace. And he became a homeopath and he worked philanthropically in India. My mother trained in homeopathy. She used to help him when she was growing up in his clinic, making up remedies and that type of thing. And when she came over here and had a family, she decided to bring us up homeopathically. So my brother and I are super, super lucky, and we've grown up with homeopathy. And I'm very pleased to say my kids are great. Well, one of them's almost off to university. They've grown up with homeopathy too. One of the things that I'm going to give my older one is a homeopathic kit to take to her halls of residence so that she can look after herself when she's away from home. So yeah, homeopathy's been around me for a very long time. I'm very lucky.
I can't help but feel just like slightly jealous when I hear people who raised with homeopathy, because I think that must be amazing. And as a child, there's just no way you could ever like really appreciate that. But how amazing.
Yeah, when I was a kid, it was more, I saw homeopathy from that point of view of practical stuff. So I used to get nosebleeds. I knew that if I had a nosebleed, I'd go and get my ferrum phos, or my mother would give me some phosphorus, that type of stuff, coughs, colds, the usual. But I think when I grew up and I saw homeopathy also being used for mental and emotional stuff, that's when it really, really blew my socks off. And I thought, God, you know what? I've got to take this to the next level. I've got to study it. I need to know more.
Yeah. And when did you start studying and what was your journey kind of from there?
In those days, I was considered a very young homeopath. So I started studying in 2003. So I was in my late 20s. And I knew right from then that it was going to be, as well as wanting to find out more about homeopathy and understanding it at different levels, I knew I wanted to make a career in it and I wanted to do it forever. So when I went to college, it was DHE in those days was in central London. No one came online. I don't think online even existed, Eugenie. It was that long ago. But people were coming from all over. So people were coming from all over the UK, getting on the train, etc., staying overnight. And some people were coming from further afield. Some people were getting the Eurostar and coming from the Netherlands and different parts. And I just thought, gosh, it's so wonderful to be part of that type of community. And it started to dawn on me that I'd seen homeopathy in the UK. My mum had taken me to homeopaths over the years for, the usual kind of kids stuff, eczema, whatever. And I've seen homeopaths in India, usually when I got a bit of a jippy tummy, on a holiday in India, and my mum would take me to the local homeopath. But to see it actually in this really international context, that was just phenomenal. And I really enjoyed my time at CHE, and I've stayed in touch. I do occasionally pop in and talk talk to CHE students, particularly about building their own clinics, because I think that's where I can add value. On my dad's side of the family, my dad ran his own business very successfully, as did my grandfather.
Mm.
So I was lucky again, lots of luck going on over here. Lucky me. He taught me some business skills. I learnt some business skills, which is something that I like to bring into, I hate to use the word classroom because we're all adults, but the classroom, the lecture room, whatever you want to call it. That's one of my passions within homeopathy.
Ah, that's so cool. So you do some of the lectures at CHE on business and running a good business.
Yeah, so I have done, I'd say it's informally or occasionally, but every year I like to say they kind of wheel me out and I get to do a few lectures, usually with year 3, year 4, depending, or year 2 if they're fast trackers. I talk to them about business skills and marketing. Those are the two main things because I have got some experience. I've worked in marketing for the charity sector. And I also do the same similar types of lectures for the Society of Homeopaths. So for both organisations, probably for about 12 years now, 12, 13 years, something like that.
Wow,
But
that is so cool. Because there's actually, many homeopaths, I don't know, maybe like 90%, 99, maybe, 99% maybe of homeopaths end up in private practice. They end up as entrepreneurs. I don't think you think about that when you go to study homeopathy. You think, oh, I want to be a homeopath. I want to heal people. But you don't think of the fact that you're actually going to be an entrepreneur and running your own business as well. And so for some people, that's quite a shock. Some people are natural entrepreneurs and they just take to it like a duck to water. And other people, it's a huge shock because actually running your own business is a completely different skill set to being a homeopath.
I think you're absolutely right. So I do like to work with homeopaths at different levels. So whether it's through CHE, through the Society of Homeopaths, and also I do free workshops as well. I like to do it because I'm doing well. My clinic is doing well, and I like to give a little bit back and do free workshops. I work one-to-one with other homeopaths as well to help them at different levels because I think you're right. People go into college, they learn all about the remedies, they're great with their methodologies. They know when they see patients, the patients get better. The patients will say, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. My water, my finger's gone, or whatever it is. But to have the opportunity to actually treat people in the first place, you've got these people kind of chomping at the bit, wanting to have those patients, and they're not, whatever word you want to use, they're not attracting them or whatever it is that they think's going wrong. So that sometimes they join other clinics. That can be useful. I've done that as well. I've worked in multidisciplinary clinics with osteopaths and acupuncturists, and it's lovely to have that crossover. But then you're relying on somebody else for that footfall. And if you get the footfall, fantastic. I had a clinic in central London, in Marylebone. There was a footfall. But if you're kind of, I don't know, somewhere else in the sticks or whatever, or it's a quieter practice, you may not get it. I've also worked in a GP practice as well with doctors. I really enjoyed it. That was an interesting experience. They were actually very supportive. They tended to send me the patients they didn't know what to do with. But then, more often than not, I would blow their socks off with what homeopathy can do. And then I won respect there. But I think things have changed in the past 17, 18 years that I've been in practice, where you would naturally join a physical clinic or you would rent a space or maybe you would have a space in your own home. Now, more and more of us are working online, which is fantastic. I'm sitting here right now. I've got my slippers on. What more could you? I've got my cup of tea. I've got my dog here. What more could you want? But again, how do people find you on the internet? Because it's a noisy place out there. And that's what I like to do with other homeopaths. I like to help them on that side. I assume that, if they've gone to a registered college like CHE or whatever, they've got the skill set in terms of homeopathy. Maybe they need some confidence, but confidence comes with seeing patients. So I help them with that bit in the middle of how to get the patients in. And we do it in lots of different ways. We do it in terms of mindset. Mindset's so important. But also, I'm a Virgo. I'm quite practical. That practical side of things as well. Well, have you actually thought about your strategy? How are you promoting yourself? Who are you talking to? How are you talking to them? All those types of things, I think, so important. So that's why, as I say, I work one-to-one with people and I'll hold their hand and do it with them. But equally, I do workshops or whatever because there's no mystery to it. It's not difficult, but it is a different skill set to the words that you used. And sometimes people need a little bit of help along the way. And that's fair enough, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you were to go straight out of college and work as a homeopath, you could maybe go work at a homeopathic pharmacy. But other than that, I don't know where else you would actually go and be able to just
And
go
again,
and
you
get a
need to be in
job
the right
as a homeopath.
location. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I live just outside of London. So I spent a little bit of time working at Ainsworth
Mm,
because actually I could just jump on the train. I could work on Saturdays, that my husband was at home with the little kids, all that kind of stuff. I pop in, an amazing experience. But not everyone's got that luxury of, oh, I live near a big city, I can go and do that. They might live in the countryside. There might be other things going on as well. And, I mentioned childcare. So we talk about all of that kind of stuff. My God, the thing that's going to have a moan now, the thing that really bothered me when I did my first tax form, I was pregnant with my second child, and my first child was about 2, and I could not put childcare on my tax form as tax deductible. You could put everything else, but not childcare, which was by far my biggest expense. So as I say, that's why I ran a Saturday clinic. So it's that type of practical stuff I'll say to other homeopaths. Right, if you've got issues in terms of caring, it could be elderly relatives, it could be children, whatever it is, that's okay. Let's work around this. Let's make it work for you. Saturday clinic served me incredibly well for a number of years. And it also meant my growing children could just have time with their dad without me interfering, going, oh, you don't want to be doing that or whatever. I would be out of the house. I'd come back. There'll be a massive kind of box fort in the middle of the sitting room or something. But in that time, I could see 8, 10 clients. I used to, in those days, just see as many as I possibly could to make sure that Saturday was worthwhile and I was using my skills. So that's one of the things that I'll look at, in terms of kind of top tips for homeopaths, whether they're just graduated, about to graduate, or even further down the line, they want to grow their practice. The
mm.
first thing to do is start with you because you're the heart of the clinic. And the way you run your practice, Eugenie, will probably be different to mine and probably be different to Marcus's or anybody else's. And that's okay because it needs to work for you first. If it works for you, then it can work for your clients. And I think I used to make that mistake initially of wanting to be so helpful that I'll be like, yeah, I'll see you at 6 a.m. on a Sunday. Why not? I don't
Yeah,
need sleep.
I have
All
done
that
that
kind of
too.
stuff. We do it, don't we? Because you go into these things because whether you become a homeopath, a doctor, or a hairdresser, or anything like that, you like people. That's why you do it. You like people. And the second is you want to help them. And then hopefully you found something like homeopathy, but it could equally be highlighting people's hair that helps people. And we sometimes, particularly getting bend over backwards to kind of make it work for the other person, but then we don't make it work for us. And that's when we use that dreaded word, burnout, because people can do that for a number of years and then suddenly think, I'm not enjoying this anymore, or I'm really tired, I don't have the energy, or, ugh, I don't want to see that patient again. You should be, at the risk of sounding a bit saccharine, almost filled with joy about going into clinic. Well, I love going into clinic, but I make sure that I work for me, which works lovely for me. I work 3 days a week. And Thursdays, because I've got lots of patients who are abroad and I have to think about time, different time zones and all that kind of thing. I will work quite late on a Thursday. For me, anyhow, 8, 9 o'clock at night, and then basically have a bath and I go to bed and that's it. So Friday, I don't see any clients. Because if I did, I know what would happen. I would be a bit tired and I probably wouldn't be fully engaged. And that's actually not fair. What to say of me, it's not fair on the client either. So if you are 100% there for your client and they're 100% there, then you've got a perfect match. So that's one of the things that I talk about with homeopaths, whether, as I say, whether it's on a webinar, in a classroom, one-to-one or whatever. Let's start with you. What's going to work for you? And sometimes people are also navigating having a second job. There's that transition, isn't there? You're leaving college, maybe you're working, doing whatever, whether it's in an office, a shop, whatever, and you want to transition into the next place. And I've done that, like everybody else in life. I've had ups and downs. It's not been plain sailing for me. I'm not sort of standing on some kind of tower going, oh, look, it's amazing over here. I've had my ups and downs with it, absolutely. And transitioning was one of the hard bits and making that leap. So that's why, as I say, having clinics outside of various hours, cutting down on your working hours, but also that basic thing, and again, I think this is a really fundamental thing, and a tip I'd give to anyone who's listening, is looking at your finances and really understanding them, not just kind of like however much money in my job and they pay me however much money, but looking at, so I get everyone who works for me to do like an earnings document. And the document is, how much do you need to earn, first of all? So need to earn would be, I don't know, let's start with your clinic. If it's in a space to rent it, if it's in your own space, your camera, your Zoom account, whatever it is, all that kind of stuff, write it all down. Write all the other stuff down too. Cost of bottles if you have them, subscriptions if you're registered, hopefully you're registered with a registering body, insurance, etc.
Putting money aside for the Bali conference.
Putting money is absolutely your CPD is absolutely your CPD is so important. Putting some money aside, so it might be £50 a month, which then by the end of the year you're like, oh, that's quite nice. I think and you might split it, and you might go, right, I'm going off to a lovely conference in a beautiful location, or
on the 23rd to the 25th of August. Insert advert here.
And in August, it's quite a quiet time for homeopath offices. So obviously a perfect time to go and put your feet up in Bali and listen to some amazing speakers as well. So you get your basics down, but then also put your other stuff down. So your other stuff would be, well, hopefully you need to eat, right? So you might split your food shop bill with somebody. You might be paying for all of it, however it works. Put that figure in, put the figure in of any rent or mortgage that you need to pay, all the things that just keep you alive. Then I usually say shove in another £50, £100, whatever it is, or dollars, because I don't know, you might want to get yourself a new pair of flip-flops, or you might want to treat yourself to a manicure, or the kids might need shoes. I mean, it doesn't matter. You need to have a life as well. Find that figure. When you've found that figure, make that monthly figure into a weekly figure, make that weekly figure into a daily figure according to how many days you work. So if you work 7 days, and I hope you don't, but if you do, obviously you divide it by 7. But if you work 3 or 4 or 5 days, you divide it by that. That starts to give people an understanding of how much they need to charge each client. Because they might say to me, Kiran, I only see 3 to 4 clients a day, or Kiran, no, I want to see 10. That will give you because people don't often understand how much they should be charging. And that would be a base rate, by the way. You can charge more. I think as a profession, and I implore everyone, don't undercharge. You go to an osteopath, you go to a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, a psychotherapist, etc. Oh my goodness me, they charge, and rightly so. There's not a criticism on them. You charge what's appropriate for 4 years of training. Already you paid for that. That was an investment, as well as your time and your energy, but also on top of it, your experience, whether you've been working for a year or 2 years or 20 years, it doesn't matter. When you sit with a client, you are probably 99% more likely to be more experienced than them and more qualified. So that needs to be reflected in how much we charge. So there has been, I hope it's changing, but a race to the bottom with homeopathy to the lady up the road who's also a homeopath, she only charges 50 quid and she's been in practice for like 100 years. So I've only been in practice for 1 year, so therefore I need to charge 40. I mean, that makes no sense. What you charge is your business, because it is your business. And we all have different expenses and different lifestyles, etc., etc. So that was a massive mind shift for me, because I used to, in my clinic, when I worked with the osteopaths, there was this weird rule that you couldn't charge more than the osteopath. Who made that up? I don't know. And the osteopath ran the clinic. And the rest of us, they were called the osteopath, and the rest of us were called the therapists. So it was the masseuse, the acupuncturist, the psychotherapist, and the homeopath. We were all lumped together. We all happened to be female, and they all happened to be male. Don't know what was going on there. But anyhow, let's not look into that one. But when it was lockdown, I can really talk, Eugenie. Do stop me when you want to.
Go for it, it's fine.
When it was lockdown, and they all had to stop practicing because they were hands-on, and I went online because, we could. Fantastic. It was one of the things, you have this moment, you think, what is that? What was that? And then I thought, I need to start looking at this. And then I looked online and I thought, oh my goodness me, there are people with half the experience that I've got charging double. And actually, kudos to them. Absolutely. Do what you want to do. And I thought, No, I've been undercharging for years and years and years. And that's one of the reasons why actually I've had to balance out a part-time job to keep this going. And I see that mistake being made by other homeopaths over and over again. And that's one of the things that we always look at together. What do you want? How much do you to earn? Those, I think, are fundamental things. I will stop for breath.
While you had to catch your breath, something that's really important, because, our mix of audience is a combination of home prescribers and homeopaths and homeopathic students. And something to take into account is that we can only see X amount of people per week. We can't work we can't see people 40 hours a week back to back. So you have to take that into account when you charge. So you might only be able to hold space for maybe 2 or 3 or maybe one person a day, because mental, emotionally, physically, psychically, it takes so much out of us to hold space for the big emotions that clients often release in clinic. And you can't just, as a practitioner, jump from one client to the next. I mean, you can in some spaces. I could do it for a period of time, have about 38 clients in a week. That was my max. But you can only do that for like a short period of time. Or if you were seeing a lot of acutes, maybe. I know Hillary said once I think she was doing like 60 clients a week or something like that for a long period of time. But I mean, she's like next level, absolutely next level. But that's also probably, I think that was, yes, Saint Hillary. That was also probably in the acute clinic. So you can maybe do that. But it's important to take into account for any of our listeners who are not homeopaths, that when you're going to see a homeopath and you might be thinking, oh, they're charging so much, just remember we can't work a 40-hour week. We can only see X amount of clients because we're not sitting at a desk job where we get to like chat with our colleagues in between and go, have like a coffee or stand at the water cooler or so we can't earn that wage that you would for 40 hours by working for somebody else. We're self-employed. We can only see X amount of clients per week if you want the best of us and if you don't want us to burn out. So we do need to charge more to be able to account for all of those times that we can't work.
I think you're right. When I initially started, I used to use the analogy in my head of bums on seats. And it used to be, like you said, and I've seen homeopaths, particularly in India, doing this. I've seen lots of people. You mentioned Hillary sort of saying, 60 or whatever it was, some crazy number like that. You're right. I think it is acute. Because I think when you sit with someone in a chronic complaint and you're really exploring that mental and emotional side, it's draining for them. And that's why I don't encourage people to have, sometimes people have these really long appointments. I think, maximum an hour and a half is plenty of time. It's also draining for you because you put a lot into it. And it's about value. And then I know a lot of homeopaths, particularly the newer homeopaths, but some of the more established ones as well, will spend time afterwards repertorizing, studying the case. They might spend anything from 20 minutes to, I hear people spending 2 hours on it. So that needs to be factored. It's more like, I would say, I've got my best friend. My best friend's a lawyer. She'll often study a case. So although she'll be with her client for half an hour, whatever it is, on the phone or in a meeting room, she'll go then back to her desk and she'll study the case. She'll work it out. She'll think about it. And then she'll send an email, which she might get that evening or the next day. There's a lot of careful consideration. And it's the same thing. It's not like people are walking into a nail bar, clip, 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 off they go. The next one comes in. As you say, the manicurists are having a chat with each other, having a cup of tea. It's a very, very different set. So when clients come in to see us, they need to understand that and have that kind of education, I suppose. And that's why I think there shouldn't be any mystery with homeopathy. We should explain to our clients what our process is. We all work differently, whether we prescribe on the spot or whether we spend 2 hours with our books. Both are of equal value. It's how you practice yourself and also for the client getting better. They don't come in. It's not like an hourly rate. It's not like, I've got an hour. I've got 2 hours. That's not the value. The value's in the solution. If someone comes in and, I don't know, their baby hasn't slept for a month and they're pulling their hair out and they're not tired, the baby's tired, everyone's tired, and then the homeopathic medicine that you prescribe stops that and the baby can sleep. What is the value of that? That is absolutely priceless. And that's what that parent came in for. They came in to help ask you, please can you prescribe some homeopathy? My baby doesn't sleep, or I've got a rash on my arm, or I've got terrible asthma, or whatever. So we actually work with the goal of a solution. And that's, again, one of the mindsets that we look at when I talk about these things. Yeah.
Absolutely. I often, like every night when I sit down and write my prescriptions, it takes a while actually writing the email. I mean, I type 100 words a minute, so I do it pretty quickly, but even that still takes time to write all of that, double checking, making sure that you send everything correctly. There's no spelling mistakes, looks nice and professional. I often have a lot of resources that I'll have in there for a client. Like I'll put links to, say, if they want to do a castor, if I want them to do a castor oil pack, I'll send them the YouTube link to that. Or if there's books that we spoke about that they should read, I'll include that. I'll send them this and that. I'll put all the resources in there. It takes time to go and gather all the resources, put it all together, and then I'll send their invoice off and everything else. And then they might have a few emails back and forth, saying, just clarifying a few things. All of that takes time. So yeah, it really does all add up. It really does.
No, I do the same thing. So, I work late on a Thursday. So my rule is, but this is where I break the rule. My rule is every client that I see in a day, they will get their email, like you said, with resources, with the full prescription, any other tips. When I'm taking notes, if I want to make a little suggestion, like I'll say to them, I don't know, drink some more water or whatever it is, I'll write a reminder in that as well as their appointment. That takes time. And then I also, if they're UK based, I can send also their prescription to Helios as well. So on Thursday, I work really late. I'm not going to be doing that to midnight because, one, I need my bed, but two, also, actually, I want it to be good. So that on Friday morning, I get up fairly early and I make sure that all the prescriptions are done. So when they come into Helios, the pharmacist, they can see, right, okay, it's 9 a.m. There's a stack load of prescriptions from Kiran. And also all the clients who saw me on the Thursday evening, they'll open up their email Friday morning. They're like, oh, yeah, here it is. Here's a prescription. I know Helios are posting the remedies. Perfect. I can start tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So, it is about having those nice systems in place. It's better for the client. Mm-hmm. And absolutely, if they've got any questions, of course, they should be emailing back and saying, sorry, didn't quite get that, or can you clarify something, or I'm a bit worried about something. So there is that conversation. It's not like we disappear into the ether, and we shouldn't. We should be there for clients within business hours, I hasten to add. I don't think it's useful for a practitioner to feel, oh, it's Sunday evening, or I'll just send a few emails. If you're working on Sunday, fine, absolutely. But if you're not, and you're just hanging out and watching TV or whatever you're doing on a Sunday evening, that's not good, because it's about being in the right mind frame for yourself and also for your clients as well.
That's a good reminder, actually, because I'm a bit guilty of that sometimes. Hubby might have the TV going. I don't like watching TV, so I kind of and he likes, that's his idea of spending time together. So I'll sit there by the TV, pretending that I'm watching, but I'll answer some emails. So, no, you're right.
You have some downtime,
That's
right?
not my prescriptions, though. That's just casual, clients that might ask a quick question here or there, but not my prescriptions. I go into my clinic space and then.
But in terms of you and looking after you,
no, I'm a little bit.
Right?
I'm a bit bad at that. I'm getting better at it though. So because I have definitely had some burnout the last, I'd say since 20, 21, 22, and most of 23, I was completely run off my feet, and I didn't realize that
you
since
are an
23.
You are an absolute powerhouse.
Well, I thought I was, but clearly I'm not, because I think the last year and a bit it's been more
that's
burnout.
Even more important then. I'm going to give you a tiny lecture.
Yeah, please.
So when you're a powerhouse, and you do, the Barney conference coming up, you've got this, you've got the practice, etc., lots of things going on, and it's fantastic and exactly what our profession needs. We need that type of energy. Then you have to look after yourself even more and be even tighter with boundaries. So I'd suggest, if nothing else, you don't work on the weekends. Or if you do work on a weekend because you've got a conference, whatever it is that you've got on Saturday or something like that, you make up for it during the week, because what you are, in fact, having to be is your own human resources manager. So when you're self-employed or you've got a little team of people, you have to make sure that you're doing that. So if the human resources manager will say everything from, have you done any CPD this year? I think I'm going to send you on a conference to Bali, for example. But they'll equally say, hang on a minute, Eugenie, you're doing too many hours. You're meant to be doing this amount. And I know when you're in meetings or seeing clients, you're doing this amount. But actually, I've noticed over here, I'd like you to, and they would, wouldn't they? They would pull you up. They would even say, you've got some extra leave to use. Can you use it, please? So
you're right.
There we are. Lecture over. But it's
Love it.
We need to look after ourselves first, because we can't tell our clients to, and then not. So
That's true.
And I'm like that. I'm not sure if I'm a work but I do like to push myself a bit, and I always have. But I'm turning 50 this year, and that is really making me think about the way I work and why I work like that as well. And absolutely, my clients are always my priority in my working life, definitely. And then everything else. I'm a big fan of marketing and all that kind of stuff. But afterwards, but also actually in my life, I need to prioritize myself. And I think we all need to do that. And when we're giving people, and homeopathy definitely attracts that type of person, someone who wants to help others, etc. It sometimes we kind of bleed out a little bit too much. So we need to be mindful of that.
Definitely. So, can you cover for us a few things of with the free course that you do? What are some of the things that you cover in there? And then do people have options to do, by the sounds of it, that's options to do more training after that? But when do you do the free course and what sort of things do you cover in that?
So I usually do. I like that I'm a September baby and I love that back to school vibe. So I do it in autumn. I won't say usually. I always do it in autumn. And I think in the notes people can kind of see my website. You can register to it. I call it the Academy. And the Academy basically means the workshops are free. I noticed a while ago that you can charge them. Of course you can charge them, and people do. But then that can put people off a bit. And when you're already feeling a little bit tight for money, to then go to a workshop about making money and spending money can feel a little bit like, oh, okay, but I can't afford that. That's the whole reason why I want to go on your workshop. So I've been doing it for a few years now. And basically we go through different pillars, if you like. So it's about mindset. It's about finances. It's about marketing and strategy. It's about calling it or feeling that you're running a business. Some people feel a bit icky about using that word. They're like, no, I'm a homeopath. I'm all about, helping people and being lovely. And that's fantastic. Business doesn't have to mean, I'm going to show my age now. Business doesn't have to mean Joan Collins and a pair of shoulder pads, kind of like, being a nasty old whatever. Business can be very different. Business can be using softer skills, using positive marketing. Positive marketing is you can enhance your life. You can feel better doing this. Not that negative, oh, if you don't do this, terrible things will happen to you. So that positivity, because at the end of the day, if people feel healthier, they can enjoy life better, they can work better, they can look after their kids better, they can do everything better. Health is wealth, as we know. So we talk about that as well. We talk about simple strategies to use in terms of clinic. The free workshop is a couple of hours long. I do make sure there's plenty of time, 20 minutes or so for Q&A. And I always say to people, and I always mean it, and I'll say it here as well, you've got a problem with your clinic, whether you need to kind of boost it a little bit or you're starting out, feel free to email me. I will always get back to people. I will always talk to them about it because I'm passionate about it. And I'm passionate about it because I love homeopathy, obviously, just like you do, and I'm sure all your listeners do. But I also want to see great homeopaths doing really well out there. This is about bringing forward the next generation of homeopaths as well. We've been around as a profession for 200 odd years. I want there to be many, many, many more years ahead, and making sure that people are in practice successfully is part of that. That's a bit that I can do. You mentioned Hilary. She is an absolute master of homeopathy. There are other fantastic homeopaths out there as well who teach brilliantly about remedies and methodology. This is a tiny bit that I can do. I can talk to people about business. I can talk to them about and make that link between homeopathy and business. So that's what I do in the free workshop. On top of it, so that's the free bit. On the other end, there is, if you want to work one-to-one with me, I've got a one-to-one practitioners program, which is a 6-month module-led program where I walk with that person. We meet every single month over those 6 months. We walk together and build the practice that they want and they deserve. And in the middle, I am launching in June, on the 3rd of June, a group live coaching masterclass. So it is for practitioners again, but refining basic skills, because I think the basic stuff's so important. How to treat hay fever and use the hay fever program, how to treat eczema. These are the bread and butter things, periods, babies and children. So we cover that kind of bread and butter work of homeopathy in the month of June on a Tuesday, UK evening, 5 to 6:30. There's my plug. And if people want to to register, there's an early bird to the end of May, and get in touch with me. And again, I think the details are in the notes. But yeah, absolutely register, because I don't spam people. You're not going to get an email every week from me, but every so often I send emails out either saying there's a free workshop. But that's my promise. I'll keep it free as long as I can. And it's been a few years, so I see no reason why that should change. And also little inspiration of, have you tried this in your clinic? And why don't you have a look over here? And are you looking after yourself? And all that kind of stuff. So yeah, please get in touch. I'm here.
So this episode is going out the 26th of May. So I don't know when your early bird finishes, but hopefully people still have a couple of days.
I'll tell you what, it finishes actually on the 19th of May. If they mention this podcast, of course, I'll extend it to the end of May.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
What have you found as some of the biggest pitfalls, Karen? So like when people come to do this free workshop, what are the things that they're telling you that they're struggling with the most?
I think one of the problems I hear a lot of is, people get worried about things like niching. They're like, if I niche, they'll say something like, I tend to see women with period problems, just off the top of my head. But if I niche and I say that, does that mean no one else will come and see me? And am I cutting myself too fine? And, and there's lots of things around that. And I can understand that worry. I had that worry myself a number of years ago. The short answer is no, you can't be everything to everyone. The internet is a noisy world, as we know, and whether you have an actual physical clinic where people walk into, or whether you have an online clinic, your chances are you're going to be on the internet. That is for all of us a type of shop front. So if you're trying to be everything to everyone, it doesn't really work. You end up being nothing to no one, I think the saying is, or something like that. So you're better off being a little bit more refined and talking to a certain group of people. And also it means you're not spreading yourself too thin. You can become an expert in that area. You can do more and more CPD around it. And also to take your CPD far and wide. So absolutely talk to other homeopaths, read homeopathic books, but actually also, see what the nutritionists are doing about your area of work. See what's happening in the world of acupuncture, supplements, etc., yoga. Be broad with it, because I think when people come to see a homeopath, particularly in the West, there is an element of coaching there as well. We have these longer consultations. They are very valuable because people often get very little time when they go to a doctor. And that's not the doctor's fault. That's the way their system works. But because most of it, all of us pretty much are in private practice, we can give that extra. And as you said, you might be sending resources with prescriptions and saying, hey, have you seen this over here? I think it'll be useful for you. And similarly, when we see clients, giving them simple information that we might take for granted. Like, I don't know, I've got confession. I think I'm getting a little bit of arthritis in this finger. This is my writing finger. So in my cup of tea, I put my herbal tea, I put some turmeric. Beautiful. I would know that. You would know that. But doesn't mean that Joe Bloggs, who comes and sees us in the clinic, would know that. So giving them that type of information of, yeah, of course you can buy turmeric tea, but equally you could go into your kitchen cupboard and just get a little teaspoon and put a little bit in it. Cut out the middleman if you want to. You don't need to spend all that money. So I suppose the real issue I see, going back to your question, the real issue I see is confidence and, if I do this, what happens? And, if I do that, you don't know until you try. Try it for a while. If it works for you, fantastic. If it doesn't, try something else. So if you know that you're really good at treating period problems or working with young children, absolutely showcase that. It doesn't mean that you have to cut everybody else out. I still get clients contacting me about hay fever treatment, IBS and all the other things. And that's fine too. And if you are super worried about it, you can still show it on your website. You can kind of have a bit that says, my special interest is in period problems, but for all other stuff, and you can make a little list, hay fever, IBS, whatever, you can have a initial consultation, standard consultation, whatever you want to call it, that kind of thing.
That's great.
So that's one of the things that I see. Sorry, yeah.
No, I just have to give a shout out to Jagoda on my team, who actually also used to work at Ainsworth. So I don't know if your paths crossed at some stage. Jagoda Salevska.
I was pregnant 2000. I graduated in 2006.
Oh, no. Okay. So no, hers is much more recent. But
She
she
wasn't
made
born in
yeah.
2006, right?
No, no.
I don't know who this
She
person is. Sorry, but
No, she's so lovely. But we had a conversation about it just this week, actually, just in my group of homeopaths, and we were just saying about, I said to the ladies, it's really important that you specialize in an area so that, also, so it's easier for me when clients want to book with one of the homeopaths on my team, so I can say, okay, this person specializes in this, and this person specializes in this. And Yogara made such a good point. She said it's actually better that we use the word special interest rather than specialize, because it sounds very kind of like medical if we're saying we're specializing. But if we're saying
yeah,
we have
and
a
I think
special
that,
interest in something, it's a better way to
and I think
advertise it.
I don't know about where you are, Eugenie, but I think in the UK we have to actually be careful about our wording in that
Okay.
way. And special interest is fine. Specialist or specialize is different. But what we're doing is, so similarly, I've got a small team of people. I like to showcase them in different ways. So one of them, Tracy, is a pediatric nurse of 30 years. So to not showcase that would be crazy. So she's going to join on the course. And when we talk about babies and children, so she's coming with all that knowledge as a pediatric nurse. Plus, she's a homeopath. I mean, that type of thing is fantastic. So sometimes our special interest could be because of our background experience. It could be because we've suffered with it ourselves, whether it's insomnia, fertility issues, or anything else. And it could just be because you really love it, or your kids have been through it, or whatever. So, whatever it is, absolutely, it's really important to showcase that.
So, Kiran, is there anything else that you want to leave us with? I know people can find you at healthyhomeopathy.co.uk, and we'll have the course link in the show notes and your social media. But is there any final messages that you want to leave us with?
Absolutely. Be brave. A friend of mine always says, courage. Well, she's French, so she goes, courage or something like that. But have courage, because I think homeopathy has had its knocks over the years, but our positive message and what we do and the way our clients can feel is everything. And to go with that agenda and not to be afraid is so, so important. So people, absolutely sign up for the free workshop. You don't want to wait till autumn. We've got a glorious summer ahead of us. Please feel free to get in touch with me and, link up for all of the free workshops that I do, or if you want to work on the course with me or one-to-one or whatever, and keep doing all of this. I mean, Eugenie, what you're doing, you're adding such value for our community. It's fantastic. I love seeing stuff like this, and it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. And I'd love to, whenever you need something, you've got a free gap, just go, I'll get Trundle Kiran over here. She'll do it. I'd love to chat with you again at any point. It's absolutely fantastic. And lovely to spend time with you and your audience. So thank you very
Lovely.
much. Be brave.
Absolutely. And I hope we get to see you in Bali.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I need to get running past the kids first. Bloody hell. Sorry, excuse my language. But apart from that, yeah, no, that would be fantastic. You're right.
Amazing.
We're having kind of one, well, hopefully not last, but one kind of family holiday
Oh,
away. So thinking about it as a group, it's group think here, the
yeah.
four of us, and then hopefully that would be
It'd
the
be
option that everyone
amazing.
likes before. Yeah.
Well, lovely to connect with you. All the best. And thank you for sharing so much value with us today.
Pleasure. Thank you very much, Eugenie.
Bye.
Bye.